So welcome to another episode of Pews with Piaras Connolly. After today's upload, I thought I'd put out another video, and having met Jeremy Corbyn last week, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Labour's politics and the prospect of two by-elections coming up. And again, hopefully I don't want it to be too political. I want it to be about people and the way in which politics affects people's lives, and I'm going to try by the end and segue into football for those of you who are interested in politics, and hopefully there'll be something of interest for you in that regard too. So going back to meeting Jeremy Corbyn, I was working on a TV production last week, as some of you may know, and 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, Jeremy Corbyn walked into my hotel. So being the fan of politics I am, I walked up to him, got a photo, very pleasant guy. But it made me think really that, well, whenever I saw him, it made me think that he doesn't really give off a prime ministerial aura, and I thought, well, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because maybe for too long we've had quite self-indulged figures, people, you know, of the ilk of David Cameron, Tony Blair in charge, and while they have a certain aura about them, they also seem quite deceitful, dishonest, fake. Those are words that you associate with them. Whereas with someone like Jeremy Corbyn, regardless of your politics, you probably look at him and think, well, this is a guy who is decent, credible, honest, etc., etc. But with the two by-elections coming up this week, I was thinking a little bit more about Labour's politics, where they stand with Jeremy Corbyn and where their future is. And one of those by-elections is in a place called Stoke-on-Trent, which many of you might not know about. It's a Labour heartland, really, and it's been in Labour hands for as long as anyone can remember. But this by-election is starting to show us that things do change, and things probably will change. If Labour do hold on to the seat, then it will be by a narrow margin. But the Conservatives and UKIP are certainly making inroads. And I was watching a television programme the other day, and it was talking about how the EU referendum has really changed the shape of our politics. It's now about whether you voted Brexit or Remain, and in a place like Stoke-on-Trent, it overwhelmingly voted for Brexit, and its MP Tristram Hunt was a big supporter of Remain. So it just shows that the real big division exists now between the Labour Party as it exists in places like London and other metropolitan areas across the UK, and some of its heartlands in the Midlands and the North. And this insurgency, if you want to call it, of Leave politics, UKIP, whatever you want to call it, is all about expressing outrage at the levels of immigration. And one thing Jeremy Corbyn has always been well associated with is the community activism, which binds him with his people, who are effectively the members of the Labour Party. But what's interesting about Stoke-on-Trent is that the people who live there really aren't the type of people that Jeremy Corbyn seems to bind himself with. Jeremy Corbyn, whilst he proclaims to be a man of the people, is only a man of the people in regard to those who hold, well, I say mass levels, but high levels of immigration quite dear, and also a more almost educated political viewpoint when it comes to anti-austerity, etc., etc. Somewhere like Stoke, where the people are broadly white working class individuals, don't seem to resonate as much with him, and vice versa. So if Paul Nuttall, the UKIP candidate, can steal the seat away, it won't be a surprise, but it may be a massive shock to Labour, and it could send ripples going through the party to the point where Jeremy Corbyn's leadership may come up for question again. So we'll have to wait and see on that point. But here's me making a prediction first here on Pews, and hopefully over the course of the next week we'll see what happens, and you guys can get back to me and tell me about what your thoughts are on the by-election, if you have any at all. But enough of politics. Some of you might have been watching the football last night, and Arsenal were dealt another thrashing at the hands of Bayern Munich in the last 16. It's not the first time they'll be dumped out of the last 16, and for a club like Arsenal and for its fans, It's become something of the norm to flop in Europe again. So question marks are hanging over Arsene Wenger's future. But the reality is that there's not too many managers out there who will currently be in a position to take the Arsenal job. Some people might think Sean Dyche might be a good shout, Eddie Howe, Brendan Rodgers up at Celtic, but none spring to mind. So the question for Arsenal fans should be, as we head into the weekend in their game against Sutton United, who really is there to take over from Arsene Wenger, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So there's a couple of questions for you. Maybe you've got a few answers for me or a few comments. If you do, leave them in the comments section below, and I'll try and get back to them. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Thanks, guys.